Hey everyone, it's Derrick here with another video, and today we're doing a Fortune Auto Coilover install on my 2013 Focus ST. Now, it comes with a certificate that essentially tells me that Jay Kiesel, if this coilover set breaks, I can blame you for this. No, but it's cool because Fortune Auto has everybody sort of hand build everything for them. So these are the front sets of the coilovers. This is pretty cool because it has sort of a damper adjustment setting here. It's 24 sets of adjustments. So you get an adjustable spring set. So the adjustments get set here, which is kind of a pain in the ass. For the dampers here, the setting's right here. So you get your typical spanner tools to make the adjustments here. And yeah. The adjustments for the dampers are down here, so that's actually really easy to change instead of being further up here. These are also 24 sets of damping as well, so this is really cool, and I'm hoping what this essentially does to the Focus ST is just to make the ride a little more tolerable. I have the stock dampers on currently, and I have lowering springs from Cobb. So that essentially made it a bit stiffer, so going over big bumps, it's kind of scary. Not scary, it's loud. And it hits the bump stops, which is kind of really annoying. It doesn't really come with instructions. It comes with sort of how to change the settings within the dampers and within the springs and with these perches here. This is probably one of the things that I don't like, is that you actually have to hammer these in to tighten them. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to do that. So I'm not a big fan of that. In addition to this, these come with the control arms. So the front control arms. I sort of wish it came with rear control arms too, but it does not, so that's sort of a bummer that it would come with the front ones and not the rear ones. These ended up costing me about $1,300, and it's pretty pricey, but I mean, if you want a nice ride, I'm thinking that these are a pretty good option. I've read some reviews and I've seen some articles that have pretty good ratings on these. All right, so to begin with, we're gonna take these Torx bits out and these couple of bolts here, as well as the windshield wipers. So I'm gonna start with that. I've done this a few different times, but if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. The front cowl is out, and now we have access to the 3 bolts here. 1, 2, and 3. All right, and the winner is 13. They're size 13. And these are not torqued down very hard, so that's probably why they don't really give you the specs, because nobody is really giving me a spec of what this is supposed to be torqued at, which is kind of annoying. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen these up and then take this wheel off, and then we'll have access to the undercarriage portion and be able to wiggle that, loosen up the brakes, and then, yeah, we'll get there. All right, so just lifted up the car a little bit. I took 3 bolts out and left one of them in because if I just take it out, it won't fall out, but it'll eventually come out. So now I want to jack up the car up and then take off this wheel. All right, so with my handy dandy impact wrench, I was able to get the wheel off with no trouble. And after it was lifted up, so that's something that's really nice about an impact wrench. So now we can take away this brake assembly portion. I think this is attached to the ABS and this is attached to the brake lines. And I'll provide you with, there's also something in the back here that you have to make sure that you're holding with a wrench so that you can actually take this bolt out. And then back here, this is another bolt that you have to take out so that you can take this portion of it off. And then there's another bolt back here, right on this side, on the right side here. This little bolt here is an 8mm And then this bolt up here is so 15 here, 8, 15 in the back here, and 15 also in the back here. Essentially what I did here was use this same bolt that I took out from here and basically wedged it back in, put a piece of metal so that it pushes out this spindle thing so that I was able to wiggle this out. And after that happened, and then I went back to the top and I took that last bolt out. So it looks like this thing is out. The only issue that I have is this end link is stuck in here. So I need to make sure that I lift it up so that I'm able to take out the end link. I got a fan. It's right there. The fiance brought it in, so she's a lifesaver. Anyways, so instead of being like 190 degrees in there, it's only like 80 degrees. Finally got it out, and yeah, it's not easy. So I'm assuming that the other side is gonna be the most difficult part. And then obviously adjusting to be a height that I want it to be. Other than that, it seems to be fairly straightforward. So another thing before you put these in, you want to do 1/4 of an inch of a preload. So for example, if this spring is 7 inches, so I want to compress this to be 6 3/4 instead of 7 inches. So I've done that with the spanner, and I haven't tightened this nut yet, but I will do that after I install this first. So another annoyance that I just found out is that since there's no way to actually access the settings in here without an extender of some sort, which I do not have, essentially I have to preset this to what I want it to be. So I have no idea what I want it to be, so what I'm going to do is just set it for 12 in the settings. So let's install this, and then I'll set the other one for 12, and god damn it. And now I'm on the driver's side. Now, everything looks normal, everything fits properly. Now the only issue is that I screwed up here. This is the knuckle here, this big thing that the coilover is installed in. So this essentially is the damper portion, and this is the knuckle that it's in. So there's a screw back here that goes into here that squeezes down the damper to make sure that the damper at high speeds, during bumps and everything, the travel doesn't go anywhere. The damper stays put. Now, the problem that I had was that a lot of tutorials and specific videos have specified that to do this, you want to thread the bolt that goes through this way to begin with, back this way, and you put a scrap piece of metal in between the knuckle, and it pushes the knuckle open so that you can actually get in here and move the damper around to get it out originally. And it helps to get it back in as well. Now, because I've did that, I unthreaded the bolts and I basically screwed everything up. So what we have here is a bolt that is pretty screwed. So I ordered these from Rock Auto Parts, and it was like $4 or $3 or $1 or something like that. The shipping cost more than the actual product or something. So bought a new one of these and bought a new knuckle. So to go over what I have to do for this knuckle, and I'm thinking of actually having somebody help me out with this because I don't think I have the tools necessary or the knowledge. I have to take this bolt out, which seems pretty straightforward. I put an Allen key in here and use a wrench to open this baby up. And then back behind here, we have the caliper installed, so I would take off this thing right here. And we also have this down here, which it's the control arms, I believe. And have to take that bolt out. It looks like probably around a 15 millimeter here. And on the other side, It's a star bolt pattern, or a star pattern, which I highly doubt I have the star pattern that's supposed to go in there. So, which is why I'm enlisting in some assistance. And then finally here, there's a bolt that needs to be removed so that you can remove the drivetrain from the actual wheel. So it's a lot of things, and it really sucks that I actually have to do that. Probably could have done a couple of different things, is repunch this hole and rethread it with a slightly bigger bolt. That and being in here and trying to rethread this with just your hands, there's not a lot of room here, so I highly doubt I would have the strength within this little area to do that. So that's one of the things that I'm planning on doing. So what I'm going to end up having to do is I'm going to do the rears today after I put this wheel back on, and I should be able to drive around with this because the pressure of the actual weight of the car should be pressing down here. So I doubt this thing, if I go over big bumps and high speeds, I'm sure it'll come out or come loose a little bit. But I plan on just driving like maybe 25 miles an hour, maybe less, depending on noises and sounds that I hear, especially depending on the terrain and if I go over any bumps. But basically I have to do this so that I can get a proper mechanic, not somebody who does just little DIY stuff, to get in under here and do this. And this has sort of really opened up my eyes into like what I am capable of doing and what I'm clearly have not a lot of knowledge about. And not only that, this is my daily driver, so just to keep that in perspective, it's a car that I need every day to drive to work and stuff like that. So that's one of the reasons why this is quite stressful for me and why I've enlisted in assistance, because I'm going to need some help. So with that, we'll get started. And another thing that I actually wanted to talk about here is that these coilovers are adjustable, and in the rears they're adjustable at the bottom here. So right there, right in here, that's the adjustment for, and that's oriented the opposite way. So that's the bottom, this is the top, and at the bottom that's where the adjustments happen. Now here on the front, the adjustments are on this strut tower brace. So it's underneath here. So basically if you look straight through this screw hole right here, that is where you will essentially find your adjustments. So Fortune Auto has made a coilover set where you essentially have to remove the damper each time, or do a reinstall of the damper each time you want to make adjustments to it. They have not provided a product or any type of direction on how to actually do this. There's not really much access here, and what I'm trying to do right now is see if it's possible through this little hole here to stick an Allen key down and make an adjustment, because the top of this is actually just, you know, a little twist thing that you can do, and yeah, 24 settings, and I think underneath it is actually an Allen key, that it might be possible to put an Allen key in there, fairly long skinny one. From one of the videos that Fortune Auto has, I saw that they have, that it looks like an Allen key. So I'm gonna take this shock back out and see what that actually looks like, because if I can't do that, it's sort of just pointless to have adjustable dampers if I have to retake them out every single time I want to make an adjustment. So aka if I go to a track, I have to do a day's worth of, like, basically 4 hours of prep time before going to the track day and resetting the dampers, or the dampening on the front. The rears are pretty easy to get to. All I probably have to do is take off the wheel and then make the adjustments. Now, that's still pretty big hassle for these, so it's not exactly ideal for this Focus ST. And honestly, I'm really beginning to see a lot of that, which is making me sort of second guess like making or doing any modifications to this car. I probably should have just left it stock, and I still might do that. I still might take this out and then re-input the stock ones. Kind of wishing that I never went down this modification route, and I'm sure everybody sort of contemplates this after spending hours and hours of work on their car. So I was up till 4 a.m. yesterday working on this problem, and right now I'm quite honestly not sure what I should do. I'm kind of feeling like I should just put the stock stuff back on and sell the Fortunato coilovers online, because if I can't make the adjustments, like what's the point? So I'm going to take this out, see if I can make the adjustments through this little piece here, and if I can't, maybe I'll put in the stock suspension back in. I don't know. Okay, so I took a look at this damper setting on the front strut. So basically that's what it looks like when it comes shipped to you. So basically, you know, counterclockwise softer, clockwise harder. And there's a little bolt or a little hex here, and if you take that off, this will come off. And this essentially gives you access to, that probably can be taken off too. It gives you access to damping settings, and it looks like it's a little bit, it's a little bit not snug, but this is a 3mm and it fits in here. So what I'm gonna try to do is see if, when this is indeed installed underneath here, if it's possible to stick the Allen key down here and adjust left to right with that. So essentially this will be covered up here. I should be able to take this off at a track day, stick this baby in here, and hope that I can get the settings. It clicks every time you turn it left or right, so that should be helpful.